In this video, I'll walk you through how I built this mobile storage cart with a foldable work table. Let's get into it. This is for a client in a beauty salon for storage and a manicure station when needed, but I thought it was a pretty cool design that could be used for a lot of things, so I figured I'd go ahead and make a video on it. I started by breaking down the 3/4 inch maple ply for the cabinet carcass into more manageable pieces with the track saw. The cabinet needed to be seamless from all four sides, so after I used the track saw to cut the pieces to height, I beveled the table saw to 45 degrees to put a bevel on the back of the two side pieces and on both ends of the back piece. Then I cut the bottom piece to size along with a couple stretcher pieces. Along with gluing the beveled edges, I also drilled pocket holes on the ends of the stretchers and all along the bottom piece to connect everything. Then I could get it all assembled. I laid the sides and back inside down on my table and added Gorilla Glue packing tape on the outside of the bevels. Next I could flip it over and add glue. After folding the pieces up tight, I added the two top stretchers and bottom using those pocket holes. I don't show it at the end, but these two pieces are what I screw through to attach the top. This extra wide Gorilla tape is definitely my new go-to for this. These seams came out flawless. Next I could make up the face frame using 1x2 poplar. To connect the pieces, I once again drilled pocket holes on both ends of all the rails, which are the horizontal pieces. Then I added glue and screwed the rails to the stiles. I cut a spacer block to use to make sure each opening was the same size. Next I applied glue to the back, and since this is being painted, I just used brad nails to attach it to the carcass and then filled the nail holes with dry deck spackle. With the main cabinet done, I moved on to making the drawer boxes out of the remaining plywood. I like to cut the two sides to length and then set them inside the cabinet to get an exact measurement for the front and back pieces, subtracting 1 inch for the drawer slides. With all the pieces cut to size, I lowered the table saw blade to 3/8 of an inch to cut a groove in all the pieces for the drawer bottom. I make one pass on each piece and then bump the fence over to make a second pass, making the groove wide enough for the 1/4 inch plywood. With the grooves set on the front and side pieces, I then raised the blade and cut the back piece at this dimension. Then more pocket holes on the front of the front piece and on the back of the back piece to join it all together. Before joining all the pieces, I first applied iron-on edge banding to the tops of each piece to hide the plywood edge. Then add glue, clamp, and screw them all together. Then I could slide in the drawer bottom, make sure it was square, and then lock it in place with a few screws into the bottom of the back piece. Here I'm ripping down the solid poplar drawer fronts and then cutting them to final length on the miter saw. I like to go ahead and get my drawer pull holes drilled before painting, and they also wanted a lock on each drawer, so I drilled a 3/4 inch hole for that as well. Next, I could cut up the two top pieces out of some black 3/4 inch melamine, a durable and easy to clean top, perfect for this application. Then I ironed on some black banding to cover the edges. Next, I laid the two pieces top down, butted up the edges, and joined them together with a piano hinge that I cut to size. Then I went ahead and marked out and attached these locking leg hinges for the 1 3/4 inch poplar legs. As you can see right here, the legs are cut to the final length that they need to be, but for the two tabletops to be flush, the legs are too long and won't allow the pieces to fold down, so I needed to make the leg heights adjustable. I brainstormed a bunch of different solutions and looked around my shop at the materials I had on hand, and this is the first option I tried. I chopped the leg down to where it would be able to close, and then I drilled a 1-inch hole in the end. Then I cut some 1-inch steel tube to length. I drilled a hole through the wood leg and steel tube at the two heights I needed and used a pin to hold it in place. This was a decent idea and worked, but I wanted something a little easier for the client that looked better as well. So option 2 was just using a second small block that I would attach with a hinge and then magnets to hold it either open or closed. I knew this route would be the winner, so all I had to do before paint was drill the recessed holes for the magnets. It's always fun tinkering around and coming up with solutions like this, at least for me anyways. With that figured out, I could move on to finishing. I tinted my go-to Ben Shellac Primer gray and then sprayed all the drawer fronts and cabinet with my Graco Finish Pro HVLP. This was my first project using this new to me sprayer, and holy cow, what an upgrade. So much more control and fine tuning you can do compared to what I'm used to. After sanding between coats of primer, I then sprayed 2 coats of bare urethane enamel. With the paint dry, I could start putting everything back together, starting with reinstalling the 2-inch locking casters. To install the drawers, I first needed to add a 3/4 inch filler strip so the drawer slides would be flush with the face frame. On the bottom, I just sat the drawer slide on a scrap piece of wood and then screwed the slide in. I'm doing flush drawer fronts, so the slides need to be inside the face frame. Then I could set the drawer box in the cabinet on those spacer blocks and attach the slides, pulling it out a little at a time to add the next screw. Then pull the drawer all the way out to add the last screw. For the next 2 drawers, I had enough room to use this Craig drawer jig. You just clamp it inside the cabinet, set the slide on, and screw it in. Then you flip the jig to the outside to set the drawer on and get the slides attached. To get perfect spacing all around the flush drawer fronts, I like to use this playing card trick. You just fill the gap with as many cards as you can, and then split the cards in half to set under the piece. And then repeat the same thing for the sides. Then I use those holes I already drilled to temporarily attach the front, so I can pull it out and add screws from inside the box. Next, I can remove those front screws and finish drilling all the way through the drawer box to install the pulls. Then I went through and added the locks on each drawer. Lastly, I could finish up the legs by joining the two pieces with a small hinge. Then I used some 5-minute epoxy to attach the magnets. I'm really happy with how great this solution ended up working. As I mentioned, I screwed the top on through those stretchers inside the cabinet, and that was a wrap. Alright, thanks for watching. I figured this could be useful for a lot of different things, so I figured I'd go ahead and make a video showing the process. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Until next time, take care.